What if today was your last day? Would you still be doing what you're doing right now? That question haunted Steve Jobs, and it should haunt you too. Because Steve didn't build Apple just to sell computers. He built it because he knew his time was limited. And when you realize you're not here forever, you start living like everything matters. Steve Jobs wasn't born a genius. He was born a seeker. He was adopted, dropped out of college, slept on friends' floors, returned soda bottles for food money. But what he never let go of was his curiosity, his hunger, his obsession with meaning. He wasn't building gadgets. He was building a future. One pixel, one product, one breakthrough at a time. And here's the truth. He failed. A lot. He was fired from Apple, the very company he started. He was called arrogant, impossible, a perfectionist. But he didn't give up. He reinvented himself. And then he reinvented everything. This isn't just a story about Steve Jobs. It's a call to arms. To stop waiting. To start building. To stop fearing failure. And start designing a life that matters. You're not here to exist. You're here to create. Let's dive into the life of a man who changed the world not by fitting in, but by standing out. Lesson number 1. You don't need a traditional path to find extraordinary purpose. Steve Jobs was a misfit from the start. Adopted by loving but working-class parents, he was raised in a garage in Silicon Valley long before it became what it is today. In college, he dropped out after just one semester. Not because he wasn't smart, but because he didn't want to waste his parents' savings on classes he didn't believe in. But he didn't stop learning. He stuck around campus, sleeping on the floor of friends' dorm rooms, walking 7 miles every Sunday to the Hare Krishna temple for a free meal, and sitting in on the classes that actually interested him. One of those was calligraphy. Useless, right? No. That one class would later inspire the beautiful typography and design-centered philosophy behind a Mac. You can't connect the dots looking forward. But trust, someday you'll look back and everything will make sense. Steve didn't need a degree. He needed direction. He wasn't waiting for approval. He was following intuition. Lesson number 2. Every empire starts in a humble garage. In 1976, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak started Apple in a small garage. No investors, no business degrees, just a vision and relentless passion. Their mission? To make computers personal, to take what was once industrial and cold and make it human, beautiful, intuitive. Apple's first product, the Apple I, sold in small batches. The Apple II changed the game. By the time the Macintosh launched in 1984, Jobs had become a symbol of Silicon Valley's fearless innovation. But behind the scenes, Steve was relentless, demanding, obsessive, uncompromising. He fought for design. He obsessed over fonts. He agonized over boxes, curves, shadows, startup sounds. To some, that was madness. To Steve, it was art. And when you mix technology with artistry, you don't just create products. You create movements. What's your garage? What's your unfinished dream? Every revolution starts with one person who says, I see something better, and I won't stop until it's real. Lesson number 3. Failure isn't the end. It's the beginning of reinvention. At just 30 years old, Steve Jobs was fired from Apple. Fired from the company he founded. Imagine pouring your soul into something only to be pushed out. Most people would retreat, crumble, quit. Not Steve. He said it was one of the best things that ever happened to him. Because being a beginner again, stripped of power and expectation, freed him to be creative again. So he started over. He founded Next, a company ahead of its time. He bought Pixar, a small animation company, and turned it into a revolution. You've seen Toy Story, right? That was Steve's comeback in disguise. Sometimes, the greatest thing that can happen to you is failure, because failure removes your fear, and fear is the only thing stopping you from becoming who you're meant to be. Lesson number 4. Simplicity, focus, and clarity are game changers. In 1997, Apple was on the brink of collapse, and Steve Jobs came back. He didn't come back for revenge. He came back for redemption, and what he did next was historic. He simplified Apple's product line. He brought in fresh design. He focused on experience, not just specs. Then came the iMac, the iPod, the iPhone, the iPad. Each one redefined its category. Each one wasn't just a product, it was a philosophy. Technology should be simple. Design should be beautiful. And life should be elevated by what we create. Steve Jobs didn't just sell tech. He sold possibility. He reminded the world that the future doesn't happen by accident. It happens when people like you decide to build it. Lesson number 5, simplicity isn't minimalism. It's clarity of purpose. Steve Jobs taught us that simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. That less isn't lazy, it's genius. He stripped away the noise, the clutter, the unnecessary, and gave us tools we didn't even know we needed until we couldn't live without them. But his greatest legacy isn't a phone, isn't a Mac, isn't even Apple. It's the belief that ordinary people, driven by passion, can change the world. He left us with a message. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. Have the courage to follow your heart and intuition, because somehow they already know what you truly want to become. And that, right there, is the truth. So what now? You've heard the story. You've felt the fire. What will you do with it? Hit subscribe right now, because stories like this aren't just entertainment. They're mirrors. They reflect the truth you've been avoiding, that you were born to build, to dream, to design something that matters. And if you walk away without acting, you'll forget. You'll shrink. You'll fall back asleep. But if you share this with someone else, someone who needs it, you become part of the legacy. Because Steve Jobs didn't want to be remembered. He wanted you to remember yourself. Now go and create the thing the world didn't know it needed until you made it real.